Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ibrahim from Living Debt Free, a guide to financial freedom. Now, before we get started on this video, just so you know, we're going to be talking about things that financial companies don't want you to know about. We're going to talk about things that credit cards, a lot of people don't want you to know about. Even other people who make videos like this, because some people that make videos like this are trying to get you just completely get off the grid when it comes to debt, to being debt free. Some are trying to keep you. They don't want you to get off the grid because they're probably, who knows, they have some relations with financial institutions. What I'm trying to do is, if you are already in debt, is to help you get out of it. But also, if you're not in debt, today's topic is something that you want to know about that will help you out when it comes to living in the United States. Okay, because in the United States, there's a way that, you have the credit, your credit status, your credit report, that's done. That before we get started, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, ring that notification button so you can keep up with my videos. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and to leave a comment. I mean, if you have questions, if anything, just leave a comment. All right, so to get started, today what we're going to talk about is credit cards. And mind you, this is not part of the playlist. This is a standalone video. That I have a playlist that talks about Road to Financial Freedom, and I will be putting out more videos for that real soon. But I do want to diversify some of the things, because these things that I'm talking about in these standalone videos are things that you can apply in life, whether you're in debt or whether you're not in debt. All right. So the credit cards is what I'm going to talk about now. When I was growing up, I'm 38 years old, by the way. Well, I will be 38 years old in about a week, about 10 days or so, something like this. Basically, when I was growing up, credit cards were different, right? So if you got a credit card, whether you used it or not, you had a monthly fee you had to pay, and or a yearly fee that you had to pay on it, right? Regardless, used it or not, you still had to pay on it. Nowadays, credit cards are very different, right? And so for people like myself, who is a Muslim, because credit cards have become so that you have to have one, or you can't rent a car. Sometimes you can't even rent a hotel. It all depends where you go to. Like I said, not even renting a vehicle will accept a debit card or a prepaid credit card. Even prepaid today are not accepted by a lot of people. So, and I'm saying as a Muslim because interest is not permissible for us, right? So that said, okay, credit cards today, the way they're done. Basically, if you use it and you don't pay the full amount that you used, you will have to pay interest on it. And that minimum fee that you can pay a month, that's your interest, the charge they charge you, and then of course, because basically when you use your credit card, you're taking a loan. You are taking a loan. You go and even if it's a $5 charge, it's a $5 loan, right? The difference is, right, if you pay it before it's due or by its due date, the full amount, there's zero interest involved. You understand? Now you have to look at whatever credit card you're using, what their plan is and everything before you go into this, okay? There's some cards that might charge you regardless, right? If they charge you interest rate, I recommend to stay away from it. Not just because I'm Muslim, but why should you pay more for the, because then in that case, just use your debit card, right? Or pay cash, right? Why pay more for something, right? When you don't have to, okay? Now, there's a way, because in the US, unfortunately, we reached a point where if you want to get a job, they're going to check your credit score. Just on a job. It's not like it before. Before, they would check if you want to rent a house, buy a house, rent a car, not even rent a car, but like buy a car, things like this. They would look at your credit score. But now, even for a job, some jobs, if you have a bad credit score, you can't get a job. So how do you deal with it? How do you get a job to pay off your bills if they're not going to give it to you because your credit score is low? It's a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right? And it's also part how they keep you in the slave system, because this is what interest is in the United States. The debt system is a form of slavery. It keeps you just sucking money out of you, money out of your system, money out of your system, money out of you, money that you could use for other things. People dream about traveling to Paris and traveling the world. You can do it. You can do it if you would live in a way that you understand of being debt-free. If you're debt-free, you can do whatever you want. Debt-free does not mean in the U.S. that you go off the grid completely. Off the grid means that you don't use credit cards, that you don't nothing, because unfortunately it's part of the system, not just the system, financial system, but even for jobs and for rent and for all that, it's all tied into it. You want to get a phone? Same thing. Insurance company. The higher your interest level, the higher your credit rating is, the lower the premium. And the lower your rating, the higher the premium. Think about that now. Insurance is like this. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to tell you that there's a way to have good credit score. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you've just got out of debt and your credit score is ruined and you're trying to build it. You're trying to fix it, right? You can go through the hassle of calling them once you paid it, calling it, and you should do this. You should do this because this helps you out quicker. There's ways to get and I'll go into that in another video where you can get what you owe. If you paid it, get it taken off quicker than waiting the amount of time it normally takes for it to fall off your credit report, right? But at the end of the day, in the U.S., you have to have a credit score, a good credit score, if you want to do just about anything nowadays. So how do you do that? Let's say that you've gotten out of debt, right? Or you have very little debt, right? So what you do is, when you go out to eat, right, instead of using a debit card to pay or paying cash, if they have a way of paying with a card, use a credit card. And this is important, please. Think of using your credit card like people from my generation used to use a checkbook, right? So the checkbook, you had that little page in the back that basically, if you wrote a $5 check, you would write in there that you wrote a $5 check and deduct it from your main account, right? So you knew how much you spent. Right, so what you need to do is do something similar. First of all, you save up all of your receipts when you pay with your credit card. Then what you do is you take those receipts and you add it up, right? And you always have to keep in mind, right? Just because you may have a very high debt ceiling where you give you a lot of credit, say they give you 50,000 or 15,000 or even 10,000, but your income is only say 1,500 a month, right? So whatever you're gonna use your credit card, but make sure that you don't go over, that 1,500 a month. Why? Because you need to set up an automatic payment where they will withdraw the money on the due date. When they withdraw the money on the due date, that means there's zero interest involved, right? And it builds up your credit. This is important. This is important. This is how you build up this is one very easy way to build up your credit, right? With zero interest involved. Now, if you don't pay it in full, now you have to pay interest and then you're gonna pay fees. My advice is to stay away from that. My advice is to stay away from that. Trust me, you don't want interest. Why should you give somebody more for borrowing less money from them? You know what I'm saying? Interest is not a good thing. It's the worst thing that exists in the world. Interest, that's the worst thing that exists in the world. So The same way as the bank borrows money from you, from your account to do their investments, that's what you're doing with a credit card. But you're putting the money back at the beginning when it's due. It's automatically coming out of your bank account. And that's what you do. This is the best way. If you're gonna have a credit card, this is what you do with it. Okay? This is how you use it. Don't use your debit card. You use your credit card and boom, you run through it. You know that you have a budget a month on your debit that all you can spend a month on when you use your debit card is $600, then that should be what you use on your credit card. You can only spend $600. Don't think okay, according to my credit card, I have a limit of $10,000. No, you have a limit of the same thing you have if you're using your debit card. That's how, and you have to. This is important. You have to get into that mentality of thinking like that. Sure, according to the bank, you have a $10,000 limit. Don't mean that you have a $10,000 limit because you want to keep yourself from paying interest. Then this is how you do. You pay for everything with your credit card and automatically do that automatic payment every month, where it will automatically pay it for you. And that way you owe nothing. You don't pay interest. You don't get a fee, nothing like that. This is how you use the system. And by doing that, your credit score will go up. If you just got out of debt, your credit score will go up quickly. If you're not in debt and you've never been in debt, but you still have a low credit score, this builds you up. For those of you coming out of and I say high school, why? Because in high school, most people are still not in a situation where they've had a credit score yet, because you still haven't got your own credit card. Get the lowest, as soon as you can get a credit card where they don't charge you interest and they don't charge you a monthly fee or a yearly fee, use that. Don't use a debit. But here's the thing, like I said, you're coming out of high school, you need to realize, for you kids growing up now, so that you don't become like the generation of today that have a hard time because it's loans and money, and they're in bigger debt than their parents ever were. Then you need to think about this strategically. You need to be a little bit more grown up than you are. You know, if you're 18, 19, 20, just coming out of high school and you're going to college, you need to understand, and you need to think about the fact that you have the ability, that right now you have the ability to keep yourself from going into living a life where you're deeply in debt, and you still can have great credit. If you're just starting out in life, or you just started out and getting rid of your debt, or you still have debt but not so big a debt that that you can't deal with it, you at least want to fix up your credit while you're making payments, this is how you do it. Because think about it, right? So you have money that you're using to pay. If you watched any of my videos before in the Road to Financial Freedom playlist, I believe I talked about this in the second and third video, where we talk about the debt inventory, and then just how to categorize it and know which debt you have to pay first and everything. So let's say you're paying debts right now. You have not your credit card. Once you get your credit card score, once you get your credit card payments down, where you can start doing this on an automatic, or allowing it automatic, then just look at it as your debit card while you're paying off your other debts. If you have a student loan, and you have a credit card, and you paid off finally your credit card, then just use your credit card like you do your debit card, except don't take cash out. Don't use it to pull cash out, because when you pull cash out, they charge you interest on that. If you're just using it to pay for things at a restaurant, at the gas station, things like that, that's different. But don't use it as an ATM to pull money out, okay? So if you're doing this like this, say you got a big student loan, $200,000 student loan, and you manage to catch up on, to basically knock down what you owe on your credit card. So use that when you go buy groceries or whatever. Make sure the automatic payment is set up where it's automatically going to take out everything you spent on there, on the card, automatically from your checking account, and then everything else you're just paying towards that debt that you have. And meanwhile, you're making the payments, so that looks good, and your credit score is going high because you're paying your credit card every month. You know, in a way, you're like if you're in debt, but you're not in debt. You're taking a loan when you use your credit card that you're going to automatically pay. And that's the thing. It's like when we take a loan, you know, they give you so much a month that you got to pay, you know, and they charge you interest. In this case, you're paying it immediately. So there's zero interest involved. And trust me, this is the way you want to live your life. You don't want to owe anybody. You don't want to be paying interest to anybody. You don't want to be paying extra. You don't want to be paying fee. If you're going to pay extra, if you want to pay extra for something, pay extra to get that first class ticket on your way to Paris or Thailand or Aruba or Cayman Islands or anywhere else. Pay that extra money to that, because that's something you're going to enjoy. Don't pay it to some credit card company or financial institution like a mortgage or something like that don't deserve it. Spend it on yourself. That's what you should do. But in order to have that money, you need to get out of the debt. You know, so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, Living Debt Free, a guide to financial freedom. Don't forget to hit the notification button, hit that like button, leave a comment. If you have questions or anything like that, just let me know. All right, and I'll get back to you on it, I promise. I read any comment given to me. So yeah, this is Ibrahim with Living Debt Free, Guide to Financial Freedom. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a nice day.